All right. So, thank you so much, everyone, for joining this session. This is the Modern Automation Playbook webinar series that we're hosting. So, this is the part three of the five series that we have. And this is part of the UiPath Delhi NCR community. And we also have a dedicated WhatsApp group for community members from Delhi NCR. You can feel free to join this WhatsApp group. You can scan this QR code, and irrespective of which location you are from, feel free to join this because you get updates related to UiPath recent releases, webinars, in-person meetups, and if in case you have any like you need any help right with fellow community members, you can ask queries. Anyway, we have forum right on UiPath platform that can be utilized, but um, this is also a platform for you where you can connect with other community members. So feel free to scan this, be a part of this group, and let's be a part of the UiPath community Delhi NCR. All right, so we'll also be sharing this QR code again later on if you missed to scan this. Okay, moving to the next slide. Shubham, can you right, thank you so much. So myself, Umesh Dutt Sharma, I am the speaker for this event, and I'm working as a lead solution architect. I'm also an UiPath MVP, and I'll be walking you through some of the very good feature, very cool features of UiPath integration and custom connectors, how you can build it, how you can utilize those connectors in your automations. Right. Along with me, I have Shubham. Shubham, you want to introduce yourself?
You are on mute, Shubham.
Thanks for that, Deepak. Thank you, Amesh. Hello, everyone. My name is Shubham. I would be giving the session along with Umesh on this integration service deep dive along with the custom connectors. I am a senior RPA developer at Flight Center Technology Group, and I've been working in the RPA domain for more than 5 years now. So before getting into all the boring topics, let's get just started. So let me first take you with the agenda of our session. So we'll be just covering what integration service is, the main components of the integration service that are connectors, connections, and triggers. Some of the use cases we'll also discuss along with the custom connectors, how we can create our own connectors, and along with the best practices. We'll be taking any questions you would be having at the end, or you can just drop the questions in the chat itself. All right. Uh, let's get started. So, what is the integration service? So, integration service is basically a cloud-based service that is provided by UiPath to have a connection between UiPath and third-party applications. As we all know that there were multiple applications like Excel and Word, which already have some predefined activities in UiPath Studio. But let's say if you want to connect with any CRM application, like let's say Salesforce, SAP, or Oracle. So you would need some API knowledge and have the connections being established on the basis of that. What UiPath provides is it kind of provide UI solution where we can just create a connection, a bridge between UiPath and that third party application. And we can monitor those connections. So that is what integration service is. It plays a pivot role in transforming business as we know that it provides the data exchange between the streamlining of the processes. Integration service also provides standardized authorization and authentication. Basically, it uses OAuth security protocol to have the connection established. It generates a particular token It then gives that particular token from third-party application to UiPath for us to have access of that application. Integration service also makes sure that connector shares authentications and various security protocols and compliant rules are also being followed. Some of the benefits are like we can create triggers. Let's say if we want to have an automation which is run whenever a new mail is arrived or whenever a new ticket is created on ServiceNow, or let's say if we are doing some changes in Oracle system. So basically, whenever those changes are happening in the real time, we can just apply a particular trigger associated with that integration, and we can just trigger the process or solution which we want to trigger on the basis of that. Moving ahead, all of the useful cases which I have already discussed. It's app-to-app integration access platform. It provides seamless world-class UI plus API automation. So it is kind of a like more advanced version of API where we don't have to go through the endpoints and postmans and checking continuously rigorously. If we want to build our own custom connectors, definitely we can do that. But UiPath also provides a variety of catalog on their platform itself. What does integration service offer? It has large library of connectors. As I've already told you that UiPath has got really nice catalog of already pre-built connectors. I'll be showing you those connectors as well. Uh, we have connections. Connections are nothing. It's basically the connection between UiPath and that particular party application. We can check that whether the connection is successful or failed. We can fix that particular connections. We can create new connections with those third-party applications. So we have the secure protocols as well for having those particular connections. We have triggers, like I've already discussed this about, like we'll be discussing more in further slides as well. Then we'll have simplified automation design, flexible automation, security and governance. So those are the things which integration service offers. So there are three components in integration service. First one is connector, second one is connection, third one is trigger. Connector is something which we can have any third party application, like let's say Salesforce, SAP, Oracle, or any other CRM application or any other application which we want UiPath to be connected with. So UiPath already has catalog available where there are more than hundreds of connectors. We can create our own custom connector as well. So Umesh would be covering that in the deeper with the session moving ahead. Then the connection between that third-party application and UiPath is called connection. And if we want to trigger that particular connection on some event, like let's say I told you the new mail is arriving, so that is trigger. Let's just quickly take each topic one by one. So connection, the connectors. So connectors is pre-built integrations that allow your part to interact with external applications. Examples I have already told you: Salesforce, ServiceNow, Gmail, Microsoft, Slack, SAP, Oracle. Type of connectors which we have, standard connectors which are ready to use, which are there in the catalog. Custom connectors are built from specific APIs. And then we have HTTP connectors. Those are built from REST APIs. The capabilities are reading and writing of the data, creating and updating records, sending notifications, triggers workflows. Moving ahead, connection. So as I've told you, what is connection? Connection is a link between UiPath and that third-party application, any external application. Uh, Purpose, like it provides secure authentication. It uses OAuth or API key, the tokenized based authentication which it is using. It stores credentials safely. It's reusable across various automations. Like it follows the same folder structure which we have in the cloud platform on Orchestrator. The same folder structure is there in the integration service as well. Some of the key features, like it is managed by UiPath Automation Cloud. We can give some role-based access. Let's say for a particular integration, we want to specify this particular uh, integration to this specific group of people. We can just divide role on the basis of that. We can store the credentials and we can have multiple connections per app. Let's say I want to connect to Salesforce. So I am not entitled that there is only one connection with one ID is being created to that particular application. I can use multiple connections per application. So that is one of the features as well. Moving ahead with the triggers. So triggers start automations automatically based on events. So any event based thing which we want to trigger our automation or solution, we can use trigger. So basically, triggers can be on the event base, like whenever a new mail is arrived, new Salesforce ticket is created, something like that. Those are event-based triggers where an event is happening and then we are triggering our automation. So that is also being catered with the integration service. Then we have polling triggers. We can check at between the intervals, like a new row is added into the database. Uh, Last time I checked, polling triggers were having a timeout of 5 minutes. So within 5 minutes, it checks that whether or not it is refreshed, the data has been added into the database, and things like that. Benefits of using trigger, real-time automation, and no manual start required. So basically, if we are thinking of building a solution where we constantly need to check whether a particular email is arrived from a stakeholder or not, or whether a new ticket is created. So basically, we can just trigger our automation on the basis of some kind of event. So event-based triggering uh, is a really powerful feature of this as well. We have event-driven architecture in that. Where can integration service used? It has a number of use cases. I've just jotted down a few. So in finance automation, invoice processing, payment updates, ERP integrations, in HR automation, like employee onboarding, data sync between HRMS and payroll, IT and support, ServiceNow ticketing, and things like that. Healthcare operations, where we can data sync across the systems and real-time notifications. So those kind of things which we can use in integration service. So let's say in finance automation, if we are just having some invoice in Oracle being created, we can trigger the event, have our process being run on that. In HR automation, we can just log in into the HR system, like whatever system we are using for HR. So that particular application integrating with UiPath, and we can build a connector around that. If it is already not provided with the UiPath, IT support ticket like ServiceNow, if a new incident is raised, like for priority two or priority one, it can send a particular mail to the cab, all the members of the ServiceNow team, along with the change manager, change approver, and the affected teams area lead. So that kind of use case, healthcare, we can have appointment scheduling and things like that. All right, let's just quickly move ahead with demo one. I have prepared something. Okay, first of all, let me show you how you can access integration service. So, like, as you all know that you can just directly go to cloud.uipath.com. This is my tenant name. You just have to go to this product launcher. In that, you have to click on more. Onto that, you can see that there is this option called integration service. You can just directly go to that integration service. And the three components which we have already discussed in this session: connectors, connections, and triggers. So as you can see that we have various connectors pre-built by UiPath in this catalog. Like we have AWS, Anthropic's Claude, we have uh, Calendly, we can use DeepSeek, we have Discord, we've got Google Sheets, HTTP, Jira, and various other Microsoft Powers Automate, Outlook. So there's a huge catalog. You can just see, you can filter out the catalog on the basis of filter as well. Like if it is created by UiPath, if it is created by your organization, if it is created by yourself, you can filter it out on the basis of release as well. It's a new one, updated one, general availability, preview, or you can categorize on the basis of artificial intelligence or whatever field you like. So for artificial intelligence, if you click that, it will only show you products related to the artificial intelligence. So build your connector is something where you can create your own custom connector. So that is something which Umesh will be covering next in this session ahead. As you can see that these are the connections. These connections are already established to these third-party applications on UiPath using this particular ID. So As you can see, I've connected to Google Drive, Google Sheets, Gmail, and we can see the status of these connections, like these are connected, connected, connected. If I want to add a particular connection to these connectors, I can add that particular connection directly from here, from UiPath Studio, or even from UiPath Assistant. So we can add that how the connections would be getting established. So let's say if I just want to build a connection to OpenAI. So I just click on that particular OpenAI. It will give us authentication page. And I can specify onto which folder do I need to specify this connection on. And I just have to hit connect. Okay, so let's just do that again because it was API key was removed. Basically, in the Azure OpenAI, we do need to provide the API key, which is there. So let's just try to connect Google Docs. So connecting this Google Docs, it is taking this authorization type OAuth 2.0. This current session would be timeout in this particular minute. So it shows that if within this particular time, if I just click on this connect, giving authorization for of my Gmail account to UiPath. So basically what it will do, uh, Google Docs will generate a token. It will then give that particular token to UiPath to perform all of the necessary operations for our automations. So I'll just click on connect. I have to specify which account do I need to give it. So I'll just click on my account, give the permissions. Your integration is loading. Uh, as you can see that the Google Docs is also now available in this integration and its status is showing as connected, right? All right, I have prepared a small basic kind of automation where I'll show you how we can use integration service. So as you can see that there is this read data activity. It is part of G Suite. So we can just directly create this going through command palette and then creating a activity, and we can write a prompt to autopilot, or we can just create this with dragging the activities. So this is the read data from the Google Sheet. As you can see that here, we can see what connection is being specified here. So currently I have only one connection built. I can also add a connection from the studio portal, like this add new connection from here itself as well. I can manage the connection. Like see, it will just open that cloud page of the integration service. Here, as you can see that it is specifying the spreadsheet, what kind of spreadsheet in this particular account. If I'll just click on those. So apologies. So yeah. As you can see that if you want to select from the spreadsheet, we can just browse that. We can, it is showing my drive. So everything that is there in my drive, I would be able to access that. And this is the extracted sales opportunity. This is the name of the sheet, which spreadsheet, which I want to get the data extracted of. I just have to provide the range. That's sheet one in there. Yeah. Then I'm outputting the data as text, which is fetched from here, and I'm just logging that particular message. So I have already published this solution into the orchestrator. Let's just quickly go to orchestrator. And as you can see that the same folder structure which was there in orchestrator, it was shown in the integration service. So it's kind of like really organized way where if we want to give access to one connection onto one particular folder which is working, uh, the other folder would not be having access to that particular integration. Mm, all right. So as you can see that it's started. It has fetched out the data which was there in my sheet, the Google sheet, all of this particular data, and I have just printed out into the log message. So all of the data is here. We can perform multiple manipulations using this. Like we can add the data, we can delete the data, we can add a particular sheet, and many more things. Let's just quickly go back to the integration service and cover the last bit, that is triggers. So we can just create any triggers from here itself as well, or we can just directly go to the connections. Let's just go to this one. Um, let's say if I am having Gmail, so I can just, first of all, these buttons, I can check my connection. If it is not connected, if it is showing as failed, I can recheck my connection. It will again create a link between UiPath and that third-party application to see whether what's the status of the connection. Edit connection, we can change the connection if we want to change the account which we are connecting through. We can do from that as well. We can manage the triggers or delete the connection from there as well. So we can just quickly add a trigger. Let's say it was event based, right? Whenever an event is created, whenever an email is received, email is sent. Let's say email is received. I want to create a trigger. I will be selecting my automation, what kind of automation would be getting run. I can add conditions as well. So let's say if email is coming from my this account, I can add the conditions. I can add a group of conditions as well. So I have added that. Then it will only trigger the automation whenever an email is received from this particular account, right? We can click on add the trigger. So it will add the particular trigger on the basis of that particular integration. So that was pretty much it about connectors, connections, and triggers. We do have an option to build our own connectors, that is via custom connectors, which Umesh would be talking about. So, Umesh, if you can please just take it on from here.
Thank you, Shubham, for covering the demo on integration service. And now we will discuss and have a demo as well on custom connectors. So if you go back to the slide again, once again, let's cover the slide quickly, right? And then we can begin the custom connector um, as well. So there are already pre-built connectors provided by UiPath, which are available in integration service catalog that Shubham has shown already. Now, when we talk about custom connector, right? So in case we have any application within our organization, or maybe which your use case is using, which is a third-party application, right? And you want to integrate that with your automation, and if there is an API available for that, you can create your custom connector. So I'll be showing you a demo how you can create if you have the API definition. In case you do not have the API definition from the provider, how you can manually create by yourself on integration service, right? So there are some best practices that should be followed, especially regarding authentication, because that plays a key role whenever we are dealing with API automation. The authentication should be performed as per best practices, so that it is not exposed, or um, your API keys are not exposed to any of the external system, right? And we'll also see how we can test it. So UiPath integration service uh, connector builder provide an option to test your API endpoints before actually publishing it. So we can cover that so that you make sure that it's working as expected, and there are no errors when you create your custom connector, right? And okay, so let's have a demo as well, how we can create custom connector in UiPath integration service. And if you have any questions, feel free to drop your questions on the chat. We can discuss this once the demo is completed. All right, so let me share my screen.
Shubham, can you unshare your screen first and we shall go ahead.
Yeah, I've done
Thank
that.
you. Thank you. All right, so I have shared my screen, and I'll walk you through how you can create your custom connector. And so before we create a custom connector, let's quickly go to the integration service platform. And here you can see there are, I think it's logging in again. So there are pre-built connectors available from UiPath, right? But in this demo, we will be creating our own custom connector. So all right. So there are two ways we can create the custom connector, right? You can click on build your connector, and then there's also an option to create a connector in here uh, in the previous version. So once I click on this, it will navigate me to the connector builder platform. And then there is also an option to open this on your desktop, and you can have it on a browser as well, right? So I have created few custom connectors for this demo. So I'll be showing you how you can do that. I think it's always log out at the during the demo time. So let me just log in again, I think. Uh, so meanwhile, one of the demo that I have created is with Supabase. Some of like you might be aware that about Firebase, maybe it's a open source Postgres based backend as a service platform which can be used, which can also expose your database through APIs. You can build edge functions there. So I have integrated that using custom connector, and I have also created a custom connector with Swagger Pet Store, which is quite famous, I would say. I mean, it's relatively easy for demo purpose. So to create a custom connector, you got three options. Earlier, we only had two options. We can either start from blank or we can start from API definition. But now UiPath is coming with autopilot feature for integration service as well, which can help you get started with creating the custom connector with just a, I would say, prompt or a user message, right? So we will not be covering this in this session because it is still in preview. There are still some advancements or fixes going on in this one, but these two we will be covering in this demo, right? So let's start with the basic one, just in case your third-party application that you want to interact with through APIs has API definition available. Then in that case, you can choose this option where you will have either the Postman collection of that API from the development or the testing team, and then if not, you will have a Swagger endpoint, which will have the JSON structure and the API definition, like what are the endpoints that you can expose, right, or interact with. So you can either upload a local file if you have that file with you, or you can, if you have a URL available, right, you can paste the URL as well. As you can see, right, by default, UiPath has also provided the sample URL for pet store, because that's the most frequently used for demo purpose. So in our case, let's start with this. So if I provide this endpoint in here, it will automatically create all the definitions for that, as you can see, right? So this is the API definition of pet store application, which is application for testing purpose. And here you can see that there are different endpoints and operations and what they do, and their relative endpoints, right? So if I just simply import it, UiPath will convert this document that or the URL that I provided in this format, where you can see the imported resources, right? The endpoints and the methods, what these endpoints can do, right? You can see all of this, and all this came by default. So I'll just rename it, and so the details that you see here is coming from the default values that we have in the Swagger JSON file, and you can uh, unselect or select based on your requirements, so that you're not exposing all the endpoints which are not use right, which might require elevated permissions. You can skip that, and once you do that, right, once you create it, it will create a project for you, I would say, in integration service, where you can see that all the information are already pre-filled, including the base URL and the list of activities that you see that you can use during your automation, right? These are the uh, endpoints that you see, right? And you can also test all these endpoints by yourself once you establish a connection in here, only for testing purpose. So once you create a connection, when you connect to the third party application, in this case pet store, using API key, you can test it. So you can simply test it in here as well before actually publishing it, right? So these are the different endpoints that you see. You can make adjustments to you can delete it, you can change the display name, but we won't be doing any of these things as of now, because that's pretty straightforward. But let's see how the authentication works, how the uh, basically endpoints can be configured and tested, right? So if you go to the homepage again, you see that these are pre-filled. And now when we come to the authentication for this particular type of API integration, right, it's API based, as you can see in here. If you go to the documentation page of this, you'll see that it uses API key. For testing purpose, you can use this one, or if you want to have if you have an account on Swagger, right, you can create your own API key and use that in here for authentication purpose. So we'll change this to API key, and this is how it will look like. And you can update the default value, so whenever this connector will ask for users to provide the API key, it will have some pre-filled values or default values already there, so users don't have to I would say, you're not exposing your API keys to the user. It is already authenticated. Whenever they want to use, they can simply just create the connector on your organization and they can start using it, right? So this is about it. So now if we add a connection, it will again ask us to provide the API key to connect to this. As I said, it's pre-filled, right, whatever I provided. So once we give that the API key for testing, it will create the connection, and you can test the endpoints which are auto-generated based on the API definition, right? So let's suppose for this one, right? So this is pet find by status, the very first one. So if I send this request, I need to provide the status, right? So there are, let me just show you. So for pet find pet by status, right? For this particular endpoint, these are the available inputs that we can provide. It's either available, pending, or sold. So let's see how many do we have for the pending. We can also try it out on the Swagger itself before actually using it in your definition. If it is there, if you have the Swagger file available you can simply use this. So if I select this, right, so it will give us the output. As you can see, there are a lot of pet IDs available, which has status available, right? You can see a lot of data. So we expect to get the similar data when we call this endpoint through UiPath integration service, right? As you can see, right, we got so many results, and that means then the authentication is working, right? The endpoints are working as expected, because we had a pretty straightforward, we had a standard API definition from the provider. So it was relatively easy for us to create the integration service connector um, for this application, right? You can make adjustments to it. You can you can configure it basis on your need, what endpoints are actually needed for your automation, right? And if you want to have any additional parameter that can be used, right, you can all have those parameters added based on your requirement, right? So this is pretty straightforward when you have the API definition with you, right? So but when it comes to creating a custom connector where you do not actually have the API definition, and you have to manually create the connector using the information that you have been provided, you can create that as well. So for that, let's again click on create new connector, and this time we will start from blank because we do not have the API definition with us. The third party application that we are interacting with, they do not have any API definition with them. In that example, so I'll be using Supabase, which is again, like I mentioned, it's a lightweight Postgres based open source backend as a service provider, which can have the data stored in the form of files. You can store any tabular data. I mean, with this manages authentication as well. So we'll have this for our demo today. Right. So I'll keep
Uh,
this. Yes.
go ahead, Umesh.
Yeah. Any questions? Any like,
There are few in the chat. I think Ron has one. I think you'll be able to explain it better. He's asking like if we have like two connections in one
Mhm,
process, how do we
mhm,
manage them through orchestrator? Like if a process have one activity is sending email through account one and other is
mhm.
sending through
We
account
can
two.
do that. We can do that.
Yeah, so just can you answer on that?
Mhm. I'll show that. I mean, I'll cover these
Yeah.
questions maybe after this demo, because it is also important to cover this demo, because I think you might not have seen like how you can create the custom connector from scratch when you don't have API definition. So I'll cover the questions maybe later on once this is completed. And if you have any questions related to this demo, I mean, you can drop your questions in the chat box. We can take this after the demo, right? So when I created right from blank, you see nothing is there. I mean, it's all blank. And we don't have any endpoints in here. We don't have the base URL. So for this example, I will be using the Supabase, like I mentioned. So I have created a table, created a project in Supabase where you see certain data, right, in certain tables. So now I want to use this information. I want to extract or maybe update or delete this information. I want to store files. I want to call an edge function, right? So there are a lot of information, or I would say actions, that you can perform on Supabase. So for this use case, I just want to get the details from Supabase from this table, and then also maybe use any of the other methods apart from get, maybe patch or delete, right? We can do that. Right. So how do we do that? So in since we do not have the API definition, in such cases, you might be having the documentation. I mean, if not the API definition, at least the documentation, what the API does, right? What are the endpoints? What should be the request format, right? You will definitely have the API documentation because it's the standard. So when I see on Supabase, you see that for configuring the APIs on any of the client side, you can use this information that you see, right? For read rows, to get the information from Supabase, you can have this endpoint, right? That can be used. So let's use this one. And then it also requires API key and authorization as a header, right? So you need to pass these two as a header to the Supabase via integration service. So what we do is we need to create the base, we need to get the base URL. So in all the cases, it's usually the address that you see right before version 1 or version 2 and the rest, right? So in our case, it's this one. So it's always this endpoint that you see here. So this is the endpoint. I would say the base URL, and based on the how the APIs are, I would say, implemented. If there is a pagination implemented, you can tweak that. But in our case, it's just a small number of data, right? So we'll have the data from page 1 itself, starting from page 1. So we'll save this. Now we'll go to the authentication. And again, like I said, it requires API key, as you can see, right? It's a API key based authentication. But how do we uh, do that is basically you need to provide the API key in here. So in order to get the API key, you need to go to the project. I mean, I'll just for testing purpose, I'm just getting the one of the temporary anonymous API key so that my project on Supabase is exposed. So right, so I'll provide this value as a default so that users don't have to provide these API keys. But in case you want this to be user specific, right, you can keep it as blank. So I have provided the API key in here for the authentication, and let's also connect this uh, Supabase with integration service, right? And as right now you don't see any access related scope, right, as of now, because it's not there configured for Supabase, but you can definitely manage that within Supabase. You have RLS for each table that you can create, right, for secure access, for user access, and you can also manage that within integration service as well. So we did the authentication. So we are connected with the endpoint as well, right? So I think let me just again, I think this was not saved. So I'll again authenticate this. So now we are connected right now, but we don't have any endpoints configured. But we do have the documentation that says to get the rows, this is the endpoint that we need to reach out to, right? So let's create an endpoint for get record, right? So we create a new resource. We provide the URL right after base URL. What should be the URL after base, right? So we got it from the documentation. We'll name it get users because this particular endpoint gets us the users, right? So we'll select the method as get because it's a get method, right? Because we want to read the data, right? So once I do that, I'll be able to create it, or I can also provide the curl URL if I already have it, right? So by default is all it also added ID, which is not needed. So I'll remove this. ID is not needed, right? So after removing this, there is an option for select, right? And select is star for us, so it will get all the users that are there. But as you see, there is also an API key as an header needs to be passed, right? So apart from the authentication, an API key should be passed in the header. So we will create a new parameter with the API key name, right? And we can have the default value, which is there to save some time. Otherwise, I'll have to again copy paste and generate it again, right? So I added one more uh, parameter, which will be part of the header as per the documentation, right? Authorization might not be needed because it will automatically create this header based on this API key. So we might not need to actually create it, but if you want, you can do this, but the bearer token will not be created in that case. So if I want to test it, right, I have the get method, I have the endpoints configured, base URL configured, I have created the parameters as well as per the documentation. And now let's send this request and then see if we get any response. So as you see, right, we got the data from Supabase and I see total 6 records with these names, and these are the actual data that we see in here, right? So it got the data real time. We just configured one endpoint, one, uh, I think Shraddha is trying to maybe draw something. Uh, Deepak, can you take care of this one? Meanwhile, I'll continue with the demo. All right. So apart from this, let's also create one more endpoint for deletion, right? So that we can start using this in the. So let's again go to the documentation and see if we have any endpoint for. We have filters, insert. We can use patch as well. Put. We can have update rows. If you see, right, there is also an option to subscribe to changes. That is, if you have this available on on the third party application that you have, that means you can enable triggers as well, because for triggers you need to have this functionality enabled on the API side, right? But for Supabase, it is only supported by the client libraries. That means it's not directly available with HTTPs calls, but you need to have the client libraries installed, and then you can create real-time streams there. So talking about the endpoint that we need for deletion, right? So this is the endpoint that you see. Again, everything else is same, just the endpoint is different, right? And the method will be different this time. So we need to create a delete record operation. This is the value that you see. You can rename it based on your requirement. And to delete it, right, let's suppose we have this table, right? And I want to delete basis on the email ID. So I know that the column name is email, and I can just replace it with the actual column name and the value that will be coming from the user input, right? So if I do this, it will generate an endpoint to delete the user using the delete method. Again, I mean, the ID comes by default, but ID is not needed for this case. And we have provided the email, right? And we also need to have the API key. So I'll simply import it from the existing endpoints that I have created, so that I don't have to create it again. I'll just simply import it, and then I have the API key as a header already in here. I can provide the default value as well, so that I think it's already there, so that when we test it, we'll have the record deleted in Supabase, right? So if you want to test it, it will ask us for the email address which needs to be deleted. So let's see if we want to delete for Jordan Smith, right? So I'll copy this and I'll pass this in this test example, and it should delete the entry in Supabase. So I got the response. When I'll refresh the table, the entry for Jordan Smith should be deleted. As you can see, it's deleted, right? So that means the deletion operation is also working. And we manually created these endpoints in the custom connector because we don't have the API definition, right? So this is how you can create it, you can test it, you can dynamically provide these values during runtime, and it should work as expected. This is tested. I mean, we created 2 endpoints. Now let's publish this and start using this in the automation, right? So the connector is created, and now we can see it in the catalog as well, right? So as you can see, it's created. There are no connections active as such, but let me just go back to the connectors, and we should be able to see the connector that we created just now, right? Including, where do we see it? So here it is, I mean, right? Supabase connector demo that we created right now. I created one more just before this call, so that can be used as is in the integration that we do in the workflow, right? Then also Swagger Pet Store that we created. right? So let's create a quick automation as well and see how we can use these endpoints in the automation. So there are two ways. I mean, you can use this in UiPath Studio during our workflows, or you can create workflows in UiPath Studio as well. So we will be doing in UiPath Studio for quickly cover the demo, because I mean it's relatively faster than creating it on Studio. So there are two options. Either you can have it, basically you can use these connectors in any of these. You can have this in agentic process, Maestro agents. You can call these as a tool using connectors in a agent as well. You can invoke this in an RPA workflows. You can even call this in API workflow as well. So that is the beauty of connectors, that once you create a connector, once you establish the connection, once you authenticate it, you can use this throughout the UiPath ecosystem in any of the product, right? Not just the RPA workflow, or not just a trigger. There are way more, I would say, advantages of creating a custom connector, because it becomes reusable for the automation, irrespective of what you create, right? So I have created two workflows, which are API workflows, which is pretty straightforward, where you can see that in one of the workflow I have, so in API workflow, it's a new feature from UiPath, where you can where you get these activities by default, right? Where you can use the connector. You can use at HTTP request method that you see in Studio. You can have script. You can create your own JavaScript code, if statement, loop, and some of the other activities which are pretty useful when you create workflow automation, API automation, basically, which only deals with APIs, right? So I added a custom connector which I created right just now. I selected the object to get the status wherever available, right? It will get the status. And now if I only want to get the record for one particular ID, right, I can do that as well. So it is relatively easier, right? I don't have to configure all the authentications. I don't have to worry about the endpoints. It's already configured. I just need to select what I need to do, right, and just provide the input. It will do the part for me. Pretty, easy to implement in your automations, right? As you can see, it got the information from pet store uh, um, by adding these two methods, for example, right? So we'll go back again and then check the other demo that we have for Supabase, which was created from scratch, right? So we got the deletion one and the get record and the deletion, right? So as you can see, whatever we selected there is we can select in here. I mean, whatever we provide, right, the name and the object and the API key, we can see it here. Whatever we want to delete, we can just simply provide as an input, which might come from some upstream process. You can invoke this, you can delete this, you can update, and then maybe have this integrated within your existing workflows, right? So if I run this, let me also run it from the API workflow just to see if it's working. So if I provide this as an example, and let's see if it deletes. So it was Alex Williams. It will get the record. So I think right now we have 5 records, if I'm not wrong. So we have 5 items, as you can see, right? And it also deleted the record. And let's see if it is already deleted once we refresh the data, right? As you can see, it's deleted. So basically the endpoints are also working fine through an automation. So we tested it in connector builder, and then we also invoke that endpoint through a workflow as well, right? So this is how it can be used in workflows. I mean, I know, there are a lot of things to be covered, but since we have limited time, but if you have any questions related to integration service, custom connectors, you can reach out to the speakers. So we'll be sharing our LinkedIn profile, or you can also reach out directly, in upcoming sessions as well. So we'll have some more sessions coming up. All right. So I'll take the questions now. Uh, or meanwhile, I think it's better to start the presentation further, and meanwhile I'll answer the questions on chat. So Deepak or Shubham, you would like to
Yep.
share? Okay.
I'll do that. Okay, so now we'll do the quiz. We just have a quiz for this session. So if whatever you have heard about or seen today, we'll test that. Just a sec. Okay. Hopefully you guys are able to see my screen.
Yes.
Please scan this code and it will take you to Mentimeter site, and on that we will have our quiz. I'll wait for a few minutes. Okay, we have 13 people. We'll wait for a few more minutes. If you are not able to scan this, the scanner is not working for you, just go to menti.com and enter this code 11764194 and you'll be there. Okay, 30 people are here. Are we ready to move forward? Is anybody is trying and not able to join, or should we go ahead? Okay. Do enter your name, guys. We are waiting. 29. I think 2-3 people more over there. Okay, we have 30. We'll move forward then. Okay, the first question. The fastest to answer will also get more points. So do answer fast. UiPath integration service mainly used for. The fastest one will get more points, and that. Let's see who will win this. Okay, everyone has voted. Okay, everybody is correct. Okay, let's see the leaderboard. Naveen. Integration service helps automate process by connecting to. Okay, everybody is correct. Again, I think it is Naveen. Okay, let's go to question number third. Okay. Okay, few people have got it wrong. The correct answer is connector. Let's see who's. Oh, The leaderboard has changed. Naveen is not here now. Okay, let's see. What question? Connection to application like Gmail search for is called activity package connector and orchestrator. Okay, few people has got this wrong. The correct answer is connector. Let's see. Yashwant is the fastest. Okay, question number 5. Can you configure integration service connector? Where can you configure that? Studio, orchestrator, task mining, action center. Okay, few people have got this wrong too. The correct answer is orchestrator or the cloud. Yashwant is again. Okay, sixth question. Only 2 more questions, guys. Try to keep up. Which authentication method is commonly used in integration service connectors? Keyboard input, OCR, auth, or screen scraping? Auth. Okay. Almost everybody is correct. Okay, Yashwant is again on the lead. Final question, guys. Let's see who is the winner. What type of connectors are available in integration service? Okay. Now, the moment of truth. Who is the winner for this quiz? I think Yashwant. I think so. It is Yashwant. He's the fastest too. Okay, Yashwant, message me again on LinkedIn. It's your second time you are winning this quiz, so congratulations.
But Deepak, it's depend on network again. Everyone knows the answers, but again,
Yeah,
if network some delay is there in the network, right? Again, the points will be
depends. Your luck.
Luck is also an important
again
factor
luck.
in that.
Okay,
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
can't do anything in that. Okay, I think Umesh is still answering some questions. I'll stop recording, Umesh. We can continue taking questions and answer if people have. I'll
Yes.
stop the recording.
Yes, sure.